leads the major projects practice in New Zealand. Maya is also the gender diversity lead for KPMG New Zealand, and she's a very strong advocate for diversity and inclusiveness. Maya enjoys building teams and supporting leaders to reach their full potential and is passionate about bridging the gap for more gender equality. So welcome, Maya, please take the stage.
Sure. Thanks, Viv. Thanks for the opportunity, and in unprecedented times, we all come together for these events. So I really appreciate the organising team for putting this together and be so adaptable and flexible. It's really great to have the opportunity. At KPMG, we were really honoured to be asked to sponsor this event, and this really aligns with our purpose of fueling New Zealand's prosperity. And from a gender perspective, really important for us to support the women of New Zealand in terms of giving the platform and the opportunity to hear their voices in different forums. And for us, as an organisation and professional services, we're always looking to disrupt within as well within the sector. So really great to be part of this conversation. In terms of the speech content tonight, we thought that was really aligned as well to our thinking in terms of the environmental element, and the greatest threat to our planet is thinking someone else will save it. I think if anything I've learned in my career in the last 20 plus years around the world is if you don't say anything, nothing changes. If you don't advocate, if you don't disturb and disrupt, then nothing changes the status quo. And for us, it's all about disrupting, and I'd love to hear what some of our speakers talk about tonight. At KPMG, we've also been looking to disrupt ourselves with our launch of KPMG Impact, which is our social environmental rethinking of our whole global business to respond to this challenge. It's a really exciting time for us to really look differently at different wicked problems and understand how we can think differently about supporting New Zealand to respond to them. So it's really exciting times for all of us from a gender, from an environmental, social perspective. What I also think is in terms of tonight, really looking, I'm talent spotting, I'm calling it now. You know, in terms of we're always looking for great talent to come to our organisation. So I'm looking for that to see, you know, what great people we can see in the audience, in the environment. You know, for us, it's about giving a platform, giving a pathway, and giving opportunities. So really interested to hear what the speakers speak about today, and just see the energy in the Zoom call. It's not the energy in the room today; it's the energy on the Zoom call. And I've said to a lot of people, I've got a 7-year-old at home with me, so if she runs in, I apologise now, but you know, it's all part of what we're all dealing with, and really stepping into the reality. So I believe in that you should be who you are at home as who you are at work, and a sense of belonging. And so we're just wearing that badge with pride and saying, you know, this is what we are, this is who we are. So just love us for who we are. So yeah, just really looking forward to today, and thanks again for the opportunity, Viv.
What am I? Yep, super inspiring as we head into the speeches. Definitely talk of the notion of disrupting the status quo, and it's super great to hear it from KPMG. I'd also like to invite Eko Janman, who is the manager of the Ellen Melville Centre, to say a few words. If you're around, Eko.
Yeah, hopefully you can hear me. And you see, if we were not in all lockdown, we would be up there in that big, beautiful room at the Ellen Melville Centre. Really pleased to be able to be here with you all today, and so proud of the kaupapa that we're sharing in this space, and so happy that we can continue this kōrero in this competition today. Yeah, so I'm the manager of the Ellen Melville Centre. It's a broader remit than just that. So I also look after the Central City Library. It's a new model where we're trying to bring more community access across the Central City, but really proud of what the Ellen Melville Centre stands for. You may know a little bit about Ellen Melville. I just thought I'd give you a little bit of a heads up. She was one of those disruptors in our time, in her time. Her legacy still remains here in the Pioneer Women's Hall. She was born in 1882, you know, so she went right through, grew up in the middle of the suffrage movement. She was taught by her mother. Her mother really instilled those values of lifelong learning and education and the value of knowledge. She was the second to go to the bar and to receive her law degree. She was a practicing lawyer for 37 years, which helped to fund her political career. She was always an advocate for women. She was really influential in the campaign that led to parliamentary rights, the Parliamentary Rights Act of 1919. So we think women got the right to vote in 1893. It wasn't until 1919 that women were allowed to stand for Parliament for the first time. In that space, she believed that nothing would get done for women in legislation unless there were women in Parliament that were able to be part of the resolutions, to understand what was going on, and that, you know, those bills that were being passed through weren't for women, weren't just being put into the waste paper basket. So I mean, these are she was really a mover and shaker in her time. She was the first to be elected to a municipality. She was with the Auckland Council for 33 years. Her legacy is symbolized, I guess, by the building that we have here. It was built in 1962, so a while after her passing, and it has always been a place for women, a place for community to be able to connect, honor more extensively. It was refurbished in 2017, still supported by the Whyte local board, and reopened for all. If you look on the side, on this side over here, if you're ever in the central city, please go and look at Lisa Rehana's beautiful artwork named Justice. It really symbolizes Ellen Melville's legacy and her contribution to where we are today in New Zealand. Still, that legacy of the Pioneer Women's Hall is being shaped by what we do, by the communities that we support, and you know, the really focusing today on what the central city needs, how we respond to a more dynamic, a more fluid life in the central city, and really supporting those communities of greatest need. So we hope to have you back in the building soon. Please come and say hi. You know where I am, and we're really proud to be able to sponsor this event today. So good luck to all you wahine out there. So proud of you. Can't wait to hear your speeches. Thank you. Back to you, Viv. Love it.
Kia ora. Yeah, really just hits home that we're really standing on the shoulders of giants. And I hope we'll all be in the centre at some point during level 1. It's also my pleasure to be introducing the wahine toa we have joining us this evening as your judges. And judges, if you'd like to say a few words after I've introduced you, please feel free. So we've got Chloe Swarbrick, who I'm sure you all know as a Green MP and a local MP for Central Auckland. Chloe also holds the youth portfolio for the Greens, and she's a very strong advocate for Asa Rangatahi, believing that young people should be empowered to create a better Aotearoa and overcome the challenges created by previous generations. Chloe, would you like to say anything?
Introduction. Also probably really worthwhile to, in the process of unpacking the topic or the kaupapa that you've been given today, my 2 cents on it is that we have a tendency to look back at history and to say that one person did all of that awesome stuff because they have their names on things, and I absolutely am not in any way, shape or form attempting to dismiss how important these people are, but that they have their names on things, they're in paintings, or they have statues, or they gave those speeches. But what we don't recognise in those narratives is the importance of collectives, the importance of communities and coming together to drive this stuff, because it actually takes tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of everyday people deciding that it is not good enough to continue with the status quo. So really looking forward to hearing all of your different kōrero on this kaupapa today. Thank you so much for having me, and I apologise for being so deeply underdressed, given that some people are wearing blazers. I'm in my hoodie in my Auckland Central apartment, not too distant actually from Ellen Melville. Did my daily exercise just yesterday walking past it. So thank you all for having me. I'm really looking forward to your speeches.
Kia ora, Chloe. We also have Ella Henry, who is a professor and director of Māori advancement for the AUT Faculty of Business, Economics and Law. And she's been actively involved in research, business, economics and law. And she's been actively involved in research, teaching and advocacy for Māori media for over 20 years. Ella, would you like to say anything?
I te timatanga me mihi atu kia koutou katoa wahine mā wahine ātāhua, tēnā koutou katoa. It's a great privilege to be here. I feel very honoured as the mother of millennials to see this, who are all daughters, by the way, to see young women of our nation standing up to be counted. And I am always profoundly irritated when I meet grumpy old people like my peers who say, these young people, you know, if anybody who prefaces a sentence with these young people immediately gets struck off my Christmas card list, because I look into your faces and I see literally the future. And I want to apologize for the mess that we have left. Not part of the Maori agenda, but also we're part of the problem. So kia kaha kia koutou katoa wahine wahine ātāhua. You're all absolutely beautiful. And I have to apologize because I am going to turn my video off while you're doing your presentation, because you don't need to see this face when it's thinking.
Kia ora, Ella. We also have Aigagalefili Fepulea'i-Tapua'i, who I'm sure you have all seen around as a phenomenal orator and activist. She's the co-founder of Climate Change Activism Collective for the Culture, the 2019 Storytellers Champion, and an award-winning poet. Philly, would you like to say anything?
Hi, it's Alofa Lava. I'm so excited to be here. And I'm so excited to be a part of this. Thank you so much for the introduction. I just want to say I'm really excited to see all of you guys' speeches. And I want to emphasize the point that our stories are so important to be told. You know, if you don't tell your story, who else is going to do it? You don't want other people telling your story for you. So please own these spaces, own your stories, own whatever you have to say, and just let it all out. I'm so excited.
Kia ora. Definitely tautoko that. If it weren't for Zoom, I would ask us all to give a little paki for our judges, but thank you to all you wahine toa who just shared with us. It was honestly phenomenal, and coming from an intersectional feminist too, you guys are so onto it. You really hit it on the mark, and I absolutely loved hearing all the kōrero. So before they go off to deliberate, judges, do you have any words for the girls? Perhaps we'll go with Chloe first, if you do.
Very on the spot, thank you. I was just going to say thank you all so much for your insight and all of the different perspectives that you've brought to the topic. It's often the case that I never really did speech competitions. I never did debating at high school or anything. I actually, perhaps this is why I'm wearing a hoodie. I am technically a high school dropout, so applaud all of you for staying in school. But my experience with speeches on a day-to-day basis is being in the chamber debating legislation where there's about 12 speeches and everybody's afforded 5 to 10 minutes. If you've ever been into Parliament or you've watched Parliament, there's a lot of behaviour that would not be abided by in a school environment. That is people yelling like children, quote unquote. But it often is also that the calibre of speeches that we hear doesn't even match what we've heard tonight. So thank you all so much for what you've said, and I'm really looking forward to chewing over it with the judges because it's going to be quite hard.
But, any words from Ella?
Oh, kia ora wahine mā. That was an extraordinary tour de force. You took us around the world, around the country, gender politics, activism. You know, it was just wonderful and breathtaking. I'm just going to take a minute to tell you a little story because I'm Maori and you give me a microphone, I have to be told to shut up. My mother, if she were alive, would be 102 years old this year. She was born in a raupo hut with a mud floor and no electricity. When we moved to the city 60 years ago, my mother didn't understand the concept of putting out rubbish. And even up until she died 20 years ago, she would put out a bag of rubbish every 6 to 8 weeks because she had so little rubbish. Although we did find 2,000 margarine containers in the garden shed, but that's another story. So really, I have to say it is our generation and those that came after my mother's generation that are part of this problem. And I can see through your āhua and your wairua that you are part of the solution and a proud heritage that comes from that kind of legacy. So kia kaha, kia koutou katoa.
Kia ora, Ella. And anything from Philly?
Wow, I just want to say I'm so inspired from all of you. I feel really proud, extremely proud of all of you for stepping up to the platform and using your voice in your space. I'm actually on the opposite end of the spectrum from Chloe. I did speech competitions in high school. I'm not that much older than you, I only left high school last year, but I know what it's like being a young girl in high school and thinking that your voice doesn't matter. And I'm so very proud that you guys have overcome that fear, because that fear is so deeply conditioned into us for the stupidest reasons. And so it's so amazing to see so many young women, so many young wahine coming out here, standing together. And I want you to know, there's a phrase we use in spoken word poetry, which is a little bit different to this, but still the same, which is the point is not the point is the poetry. And so it kind of got me thinking, and I didn't really get that for a while, but it actually just means the point isn't who wins. The point is sharing stories, sharing space, and being able to learn from everyone's different perspectives. And so I'm so proud of you. No matter what happens today, you should be really, really proud of yourselves and proud of each other. Thank you.
Kia ora. So while the judges go and deliberate, just well done to everyone. Again, we can't say it enough. But while they go and do that and deliberate, it's my pleasure to invite Kate Cairns to join me in some kōrero. As introduced before, Kate is a professor and author with a focus on sustainability, as well as a pro vice chancellor and the first female dean of business, economics and law at AUT. So I've got a few questions for you, Kate. Firstly, what were your impressions of the speeches you've just heard tonight?
Wow. Haven't we got lots of wonderful young wahine who can, bring it to the world? I'm impressed. I hear their eloquence, their clarity, they're impassioned. They're all about taking personal responsibility and not really, yes, some of the blame for where we are, it really does lie with others and my generation and, who've been a bit wanton with the planet and its resources. But not too much blame, more about what can we do? How can we work in ways that make a difference that has ripples out and impacts a whole lot of other people in positive ways? Very cool.
Definitely agree. So my next question to you is, why do you think it's so important for young women to speak up and be heard on important issues?
Young women have a voice in representing a really important perspective that is not shared necessarily by any other group. Moreover, what we can see is what you've all been talking about is this intersectionality. So people who have lots of different ways in which they can be disadvantaged and bringing that to the table. So we've got people speaking out for other cultures, for diverse cultures. We've got people speaking out around a whole range of issues that affect them. So I think personal voice is really important in all of this. If, for any group that's been marginalized or disadvantaged in any way, or that isn't just seen as part of mainstream debate, getting those voices in there and in the humanized and impassioned way that, we saw Greta Thunberg do it, but we've seen it here again tonight. I was so much reminded of that, but in a way that speaks to me as part of the culture of Aotearoa, New Zealand, and the Pacific nations that surround it much more powerfully, because it's our voices. Your voices are our voices. What you reminded me, all of you people who are speaking, young women, is your sense of individual action, inspiring collective action but the sense of that we are all in the same waka, we're all in the same boat. And that really is the case with climate change, right? We could all sink, but it's, you know, collective action that'll keep us afloat and keep our planet supporting us.
Yeah, definitely tautoko. I mean, we've seen time and time again the kind of repercussions of not having our wahine in these spaces is so detrimental. I mean, I'm pretty sure I saw on the Ministry of Women the CEO statistics that one of our speakers was talking about, but I also saw in that it's pretty much made up of like Pākehā women, and there's no Asian CEOs and barely any Māori and Pacific. And yeah, to challenge those existing power structures, we must go beyond and make space for others and be intersectional and be empowered in that.
For sure. And, you know, the Global Women Organisation in New Zealand has a whole bunch of companies, private sector and public sector companies represented in what they call the Champions for Change. And those champions are the chairs and CEOs of most of the major business organisations and public sector organisations in New Zealand. And they're all recognising this, but the change isn't happening fast enough. The statistics, Viv, that you just mentioned are absolutely accurate. We don't have the proportional population representation of Māori, Pasifika or Asian in our boardrooms or in our CEOs. And I loved what one of our speakers said. They didn't use the thing that I've heard so many times. There are more CEOs called John in New Zealand than there are women CEOs of our leading companies on the New Zealand Stock Exchange. They actually updated it and they used the mark analogy. Apparently we've got more marks now. I love it. You know, I don't like the actual fact of that, but I like the fact that here we've got young women who just don't accept one statistic, but they have a look and they have a think and they investigate. And I guess that's what we're all about at AUT, is wanting to have people stand up and be on the hustings, but also to do what our young women have done tonight, and do that on the basis of having data and information that supports their views. You know, doing good analysis of what's out there and synthesizing it and bringing it across in ways that resonate with them personally and that they can then deliver passionately.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this fits really well into the third question that I was going to ask you on how all of this kind of change making fits into AUT's approach to education. We have one singular mission at AUT. So we're a cool, edgy, contemporary, I guess, university with a really applied approach to education, which resonates well with lots of people. We bring the theory to practice, but the singular mission that we have is great graduates. And we don't mean great in a stale and pale and, dare I say, just male way. More than half of our students are women, and that is the case at some other tertiary institutions in New Zealand too. But when we say great graduates, we've defined that at AUT to mean graduates who care, who question, and who act. So I saw a lot of caring today, or heard a lot of caring tonight. It's, you know, because you care, you can convince. I remember being, you know, introduced to ecofeminism back a long time ago when as I was becoming a professor in sustainability. And tonight I've seen many ecofeminists in action, women who care about other people and who care about nature, who care about those kinds of connections. So caring is pretty central. Questioning is really important too. We should question what previous generations have
have left behind. We should learn from it, like from the example of Ella Henry's mum. You know, I remember having students in my sustainability classes who talked about their grandmas washing plastic bags and hanging them over the tap to reuse. One student even talked about washing glad wrap, which I now understand that younger generations call sad wrap. But equally, I reckon we're back to some of that, right? Because there's so many fewer plastic bags around Yahoo, that we are getting into that reuse mentality. So questioning, you know, what we're doing, and then acting in little ways, acting in bigger ways, but acting with integrity. So not expecting others to do what we're not prepared to do ourselves.
And yeah, that's kind of the whole kaupapa of tonight. And it's kind of going into that theory of change that at first takes acknowledgement and the empowered individual, and some grieving over things that haven't gone right in the past, and then propelling us to change, especially in the feminist space, and especially touching on all the topics that the girls have touched on today.
Yeah, I used to think when I was teaching around lots of these issues, and now I do lots of leading and not so much of that actual day-to-day teaching. But I used to think that it took having what I used to call an ooh-ah reaction to something. And that fits with your idea of ooh is I've seen a dreadful sewage outfall or something. I've seen something really despoiling the environment. I've walked on a plastic littered beach. And sometimes that inspires action, but you got to get through that period of grief and despair to be able to get into the more hopeful action space. But then there is also being out and seeing a gorgeous sunrise. I don't expect young people to always be up that early, but you've probably seen plenty of sunsets, and you might have been actually out that late that you've seen a sunrise. But all of those good things about our environment, you know, just even being out and doing the odd walk in the last few days and seeing a gorgeous tui or something, you know, that just lifts your spirits. So those sorts of things, those connections with nature are really important, and they can both disgust and inspire us, but they can lead to wanting to take action. And so get out there, girls. Stay out, you know, don't stay inside all day. That's not going to be good for all our mental health.
Yeah, I guess that kind of goes on to one thing that I've been really working on as an advocate myself and working in feminist spaces is safeguarding your own well-being and doing those things like connecting with communities and connecting with nature. Because at the end of the day, you can't pour from an empty cup, and we all want to kind of fight these systems that are still failing us. But we have to while we're still connected and taking care of our well-being. If you don't mind, I've got a question that is a little bit off script, but would you be open to talking a little bit about your experience as the first female dean of AUT's Faculty of
I can do that, Viv, because I know we're filling in space between what was great speeches and a little bit of me waxing lyrical. So if people just accept that that's what I'm doing, so I'm giving the judges a little bit of time. So being a dean at AUT, I'd better explain what it is first. So the dean of the Business, Economics and Law faculty has responsibility for around about 250 staff, 180 odd academics who teach our students, who do amazing research, and out in the media quite often. You'll quite often hear business and law academics from AUT out in the media. And we have about 70 professional staff who support our student success and other activities. So I became dean about 4 years ago. And it's an enormous privilege, but like anything else, it's a responsibility, right? And the privilege is that I get to work with some really great people. We have some really committed teachers and researchers who are really committed to, you know, the success of diverse students. So that's a great thing. It's a responsibility because not everything goes right all the time. And, you know, people say, God, you've got the most gorgeous office when I am at work in the office. And I do, but it's also a bit of a like I used to call it, and we have fewer problems now. I've been in the job for 4 years, but I used to call it, it's also the chief problem office. So it's the place where everybody comes if they haven't got a script to know what to do. So you get the, oh my God, what on earth do I do questions. Fewer of those because we've got some really agile people who are jumping through COVID in an amazing way by putting their elbows in and doing the mahi, and, you know, just putting our students' needs and their learning to the fore. We know it's tough, and some of the girls before everybody else came on were talking about how hard it is to be at home and trying to study and work, and we get that. So, yeah, have I done everything right as the first female dean? I bet there's lots of people who'd say I haven't. Do I do anything different from what a male dean would have done? Some people tell me I do. Some people say I'm a bit soft, or I'm soft on people, or I care too much for people. Some people say I don't care enough. You never can quite get this right. I'm probably a bit more consultative, that I share the decision making a wee bit more, and I'm prepared to be a bit more vulnerable. And I think that is perhaps from what I've read, and I've read a lot of work about leadership, that is a hallmark of women leaders. But let's face it, more men are stepping into their vulnerability with great effect. Some of the things that I do that people think aren't terribly female, as if there was a one way to be, is that I tend to say what I think. One of the things that horrifies some of my male colleagues is that I admit when I'm wrong. I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong. And I change my mind. When I find evidence that says, you know, you should not do what you've been saying, you should do something else, and I can be persuaded by other people, yeah, I do. So I think for all of us as, you know, wahine toa, people who want to lead as women, just realize that there's a whole repertoire that you can draw on. You don't have to be the way that other people think you should be. I had 3 brothers who, you know, they ganged up on me hugely when I was young. And now I thank them every day. I'm a little bit tougher because of it.
Kia ora. It's really nice to hear from someone who's in a role that has only ever been filled with men before, but also kind of touching on, you know, like the beauty of feminism is it is there to help both men and women. We're just there to ask for equality. And no, it's super nice to hear from you, especially as a science student in a very male-dominated field. I take a lot of passion and resilience from the wahine in my life. So, kia ora,
and you're doing cool stuff. Thank you, Viv.
Thank you. Quickly before the judges come back, I would also like to invite Anna Beard from the YWCA Auckland, who's going to say a few words. And kia ora, Kate, again.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. What an amazing hour and a half it's been. Love hearing your kōrero. And the YWCA has walked alongside NCW for over 100 years in Auckland. And it's a sisterhood of sharing resources and working for gender equality side by side. So we're really happy to be supporting the speech comp as we have done in the past. And the YWCA in Auckland at the moment, we really are grappling with a few things. it's become apparent over the last several years that one thing that dominates young women's lives is overwhelming anxiety, and one thing that fuels that is climate anxiety. And so listening to all of your kōrero has been really timely for us as we're considering where we fit in that regard and how best we can support young women, and also try and do our best for climate change. Yeah, we're all about raising the voices of young women, and this kind of event really typifies that. So thank you so much for your honesty and your bravery and your passion. Yeah, good on you. Thanks.
Good, Anna. And yeah, I'm a big fan of what the YWCA does in terms of wahine empowerment. But now I think it's time for some prizes. The judges are back. And yes, so everyone was fantastic, but we do have some standout speeches we'd like to particularly celebrate. So how this is going to work is each judge will present a different prize. So could I please have Chloe, who is presenting the AUT Faculty of Business, Economics and Law, third prize, take the floor.
Kia ora, that was really hard. Thank you all for such a difficult job. All of us had quite a long discussion unpacking all of the different angles that each of you came from, how some of you, really honed in on and did an amazing job. All of you did an amazing job in each of these categories, but, there was those who were, in their performance, those who were in their substance, those who were offering those calls to action, those who offered facts, those who offered poetry. You were all phenomenal. So thank you so much for an amazing way to spend an evening in lockdown. I'll get to the point, which is my role to present digitally the third prize. I'll just say it up front so that we can then begin to unpack it and you're not having to piece together the clues. So coming in third place is Emily Whyte from Aotearoa College. The things that we really liked about the content and the performance from you, Emily, I've just got a few notes here. Look, I deal a lot in the climate space and I hear a lot from a lot of different people, and it is often quite disheartening operating in that space. You hear a lot of really dire pictures, but you hear the same thing over and over again, and it takes a lot to have somebody sit up and take notice when you are delivering a new perspective. New perspectives are something that is quite hard to offer on the climate crises. So thank you for painting that picture at the beginning of your speech, starting not at 2050 but at 2055, after that standpoint in time where we so often focus on with the likes of the Zero Carbon Act, and threading those parallels between, for example, COVID and our very visceral experiences right now with wearing a mask. I think that's something which definitely can paint a picture for people, and again, to do that is incredibly creative, and to pointing to how we poison our air, also kind of extrapolating from that point of personal responsibility where what will you do, taking it into that broader scope of internationally in a world where not every single country has played its part. Because so often, again, we're engaged in this political dialogue where every single country is pointing the finger at each other, but you painted that picture of what happens if all of us stay in that stasis. The final thing was just, again, drilling into those tangible examples of what it looks like to showcase leadership and how leadership can be showcased in many different ways. Just deeply appreciated it. Thank you for acknowledging, in particular, Te Ao Māori and the perspectives around kaitiakitanga and how that can play out as how we solve these crises. So kia ora, and congratulations.
Thank you. I'm so shaky.
Fair enough, but well done. I loved it, and it was a really creative piece. Okay, so Ella's back here, and she is going to be presenting the YWCA second prize.
Kia ora. And again, I'd like to reiterate, this was a difficult task because of the caliber and quality, but more importantly, the passion and the heart that you all brought to your presentations. And we all really respect that. But we had to make a choice. So the second prize, the YMCA one, goes to Pelenia Pulotu. And Congratulations, my dear. We were all very impressed in the way that you linked your concerns around the climate to your own Pacific legacy, and in particular bringing Kiribati into the conversation and the very real impacts that these global crises are having at a very local level, and that resonated for us. And you were articulate, you used references to support your arguments, but for me and all of us, most importantly, you ended on a point of hopefulness and optimism. And I think that that's a really important place to end in this discourse. And you advocated for science. And I think that that's also in these times of the pandemic, when we have so many people who are denying the science, it's really important that all of you young folk, you know, acknowledge the importance of good science. So congratulations to you. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, and kia kaha.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well done. Yes, your speech was very empowering. And now we've got Phoebe back to present the KPMG First Prize Award.
Gosh, I just want to say once again, everyone that was involved, please be so proud of your guys' selves. Like I said before, the point is not the prizes, the point is sharing, learning from each other, having more of these discussions, and hopefully when this ends, you will be having more of these discussions anyways. So I'll just get straight to the point. Our first place winner is Sala Angalava from Macaulay High School. The reason why we chose Sala, which was, like we said, this was a really hard decision, but the focus that you put onto intersectional feminism, as well as coming from your own personal perspective and linking it to wider New Zealand, linking it to all of these things, all of these facts that people might not know, I thought was a really great way to talk about the issue, coming at it from a personal perspective and also how it affects everyone else. You know, knowing that it's all of our struggles, it was just amazing, as well as the way you tied it in with your metaphors. You put a really great spin in it, you had our attention, and you presented it in such a way where it was personal, but it was also something that we could all relate to, something that everyone could relate to. And so for that, congratulations and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, beautiful. Congratulations, Sala. Yeah, from all of us, I'm sure. Oh, big congrats. Oh, that's super cute. And to everyone, sharing Kōrero and Whakaaro with you all has just been an absolute pleasure. I mean, you're the change makers, and I hope you will go out and inspire more people who weren't on the Zoom call, and I know you will. So winners, you'll be contacted directly by the National Council of Women about your prizes, and your certificates will be sent out to you. Everyone, thank you. If no one else has anything to say before we finish it off, then that's farewell and Pōmarie.
Just say something, just say something.
Am I allowed to speak?
Sure. Who is that?
Mommy, help me.
That's my daughter Caitlin. She's 7. She's just been listening to everybody and just been so impressed and agreeing with you all and having a point of view on everything you were saying. So I'm loving the inspiration you girls have given to her tonight.
Oh,
what do you say? What do you say to all the girls?
Thank you.